In one of my custom builds a few months ago, I had made this maple neck. It was the wrong nut size, so I decided to keep this. And the previous owner had done some color changing on the back and the front. And what I wanted to do was get it to a consistent color across. So if you wonder how many coats of color and tru-oil you can put into a guitar neck before it doesn't take any color or you can't change anymore, this is it. I think we put on, I don't know, 10 different colors and use tru-oil a bunch of different times. And as you do that, there's only so much that you can do after a while. So in this video today, I'm going to try and get the tru-oil out of the fretboard. I'm going to reapply another color. And as I went through this, I probably should have sanded the headstock down a little bit more. This is the final product, and I just got a little bit more of an orange hue versus the black and the brown. The back matches the fretboard pretty good, but this isn't looking exactly right. But this is going to go on my Chicago Telecaster that I am working on, so this is for me. I love this feel, I love this carve, and I like the 1 5/8 nut, so we'll get in the video here and show you guys how I got it to this state. So we're going to start off with a razor blade here, and we're going to begin to scrape the fretboard. And the interesting thing as I scrape this down is this has been done now a couple of times, and I've actually sort of scalloped the fretboard slightly. Not a bunch, but just a little bit. So the tru-oil is sitting on here pretty good. It's been maybe 6 months, I think, since we touched this. Maybe longer, maybe even a year. So we've got the razor blade and we're scraping back and forth in between the frets. Went through and did the whole fretboard. And then I come back with some acetone and begin to wipe it off. So I tried to scrape the fretboard first, and then whatever I couldn't get, I was hoping that the acetone would break this down and pull off the tru-oil. Read in some forums that this will work sometimes. I don't think it worked all that well, which is why I started scraping first. Maybe I could pull out any remnants of it. But I've just got basic acetone and I'm trying to scrape this off. And this camera angle is awesome because I forgot to unzoom the camera, so sorry about that here. But here you can see I do the headstock, and probably should have gone after this a little bit more on the headstock. Love the flame on this neck. It is really beautiful. So we'll rub as most of this out as we can. You can see the rag becomes yellow, and I was unsure if that's from the actual stain or from the acetone or what. But we'll come back then with some 320 sanding paper on my palm sander, and we'll just try and rub out some more of the color. So I'm not really taking off any wood, but I really am trying to just get whatever remnants of the tru-oil is left. So we'll just scrape this back and forth. Not seeing a whole lot of stain coming out here at this point. But I did put on, I think, a second piece of sandpaper once it started to load up. Probably could have sanded that headstock here a little bit more. So then once we sanded, decided to come back once again with the scraper, razor blade, and just try and get out a little bit more, whatever was left. You'll see a little bit later, we still had remnants of tru-oil once we apply the stain. And when that happens, the stain just sits on top of the tru-oil and you don't really get it in. So we're going to do a mix of colors here. Since I want it to darken up a lot, I'm going to go with a dark brown Angelus leather dye and a black Angelus leather dye. And we'll just apply this on as thick as we can, do 2 coats, and see what comes out of this. So I know I'm applying way too much product here, but I wanted to see where we've got some gaps in color and where there's sort of tru-oil left. If I put the color over the tru-oil, it doesn't really do anything. So this is the second coat.
And then we do a lot of playing here in the next cut. So I've readjusted my camera and I've got a better angle for you here, which I should have done before. So now we've got some steel wool. I've got some fine grade steel wool. And all we're trying to do is just pull out a little bit of the color, try and get the color even. What I really want to do here is get even coloring across the front and the back. So now this is 800 grit open grain sandpaper, a little bit more coarse than the steel wool. And I'm just trying to play back and forth with this and see what happens. So I'm really being cognizant of the color on the fretboard and what does that look like versus the back and headstock. So here you can see I've still got a little bit left tru-oil on the fretboard because it's not going in, and as soon as I rub it with the sandpaper it comes out. So I knew I hadn't gotten all the tru-oil out. So we're coming back with some, I think, finer grit or more coarse steel wool here. And we're trying to get out more of that color and oil as we're going back and forth here. And I didn't use coarser sandpaper because then, of course, I'm going to scratch the frets. And so you can see where the color here isn't going in. And so I come back with that razor blade and try and scrape off where I could see the dye was sitting on top of the fretboard. Some more back and forth. Clean it up, make sure I'm picking up any dust or whatever. So we'll come back with some Angelus neutral. And what I've learned about this neutral is it's really good at taking the colors they're sitting on top of the wood and sort of pushing them around. So if you add too much color sometimes, it just sits in the wood, sits on the top. And what I'm learning with the neutral is that it's allowing me to push the colors around and not use any more color. So I'll go back and forth with that rag and try and get the color into the wood, get it to spread out, make sure that I've got the right look. And then we'll get some steel wool and we'll again try and match this color. So I found it's pretty effective to use steel wool right after I apply some of the color. It helps a little bit pull it all together. So as it's wet, I can sort of gauge what this is going to look like. And those 3 top frets, part of the fretboard, were just not absorbing the color very well. So we're going to go ahead and come back with the neutral and the black and see if we can get that to match a little bit better. And this is where a lot of that back and forth happens to get it to look right. So we'll do steel wool, neutral, steel wool, neutral, and see what we can do. So steel wool the headstock once more. Come back and get the corners. Come across the fretboards. Here I'm really looking for even coloring and see how it matches the back. And then make sure the frets look nice. A couple more spots that needed just a little bit more color. So we'll go ahead and clean those off again with the razor blade. So we'll put that glove back on, grab the black rag and a little bit more neutral. See if we can get this to look right. Rub it in, get some steel wool, clean it up. At this point we're looking pretty good. So we'll take this outside and apply 1 coat of tru-oil. First coat we'll try and put on a little bit thick. We're not going to spray this with a sanding sealer. We're just going to go straight with tru-oil. At this point, I want the tru-oil to sort of pick up some of the color and move it around. I was hoping it would blend some of the colors a little bit better. So if you go tru-oil straight on the color, it'll sort of lift the color, make it a little bit messy. And with this neck, I'm fine with that. We put a second coat on, and then this is the third coat. Try and get it to dry. We then put on 3 more additional coats in the same way. Then we come back with these sanding pads, these scuff pads, and we'll go over the fretboard and a little bit of the back and the sides and put on another coat. So I wasn't going to sand with the tru-oil this time. Didn't want to take up any more color. And we'll go back to me live here.
So this is the guitar neck. I've got about another 4 coats of tru-oil on here from what you saw in the video. It's almost a little bit scalloped, which is interesting. Always wanted to do that, so I've got something to play with. Gonna plop this onto the Chicago body, and that's coming up in one of my next videos. But really neat figuring neck. Kind of cool. So thanks for watching, guys. Now you know how many colors and coats of tru-oil you can put onto a neck before it won't take it anymore. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.